Hello everyone, this is Keoni from Haunting You, and I am here to tell you today about the Picoboo prop controller from FrightProps. This is it you see right here. And what I'm doing today is programming it for the mini golf place that I am working for. And what we want it to do ultimately is when a ball passes through, passes on the inside of this organ, it will start playing music and lights will flash. So that is the goal for today. This controller is kind of cool. It's very, very easy to learn to use. You see it's got just 3 buttons here on the bottom, and we'll talk more about what those do later. And then it has all of its inputs and outputs here along the top. The console block will actually pop out to make it easier to put all the wires in. You can just snap it back into place. It's powered by a single AC cable with a rectifier that makes it 12 volts. That 12 volts comes in. It has a maximum 5 amp output and 2 different channels that it can put that 5 volts out. Up to, 5 amps, 30 volts, 5 amps output total. It also has a output for a speaker. I'm using just, regular old 5.1 surround sound speaker that I got out of a Goodwill somewhere. So that's what I've got hooked up to it. And yeah, so let's get started. So cool thing about this Picoboo controller is it can have two separate sound files, and it can have 2 separate outputs, electrical outputs. So those outputs can be just about anything you can run with AC or DC voltage. And there are different ways you would wire it for AC or DC. Today we are using these little LED light strips. It runs off 12 volts. So you apply 12 volts to it and it will turn on. So because of that, we have it wired up here. All of the negatives are coming back to the negative and the output, and then on each of the relays, you have a normally open and a normally closed. So normally closed means it would be on all the time, and then when the controller gets activated, it would turn off. Normally open, NO, means it's normally off, and when the scare happens, then it turns on. So that's the one that we're using today. All of the power cables to each of our lights is connected to the normally open. The grounds are connected to the minus. We have the input power going to each of those blocks as well, so that when the relay closes, the lights will turn on, bringing the power from here to each of the lights back to the negative. So those are the 2 outputs, and then it can also have 2 different audio files working or stored within it, 2 minutes each. There's an ambient audio file, and the ambient audio file will be playing normally before anything happens, unless you do either atmospheric effects or something else, so that as the guests walk up, you got a little bit of sound effects. And then when the scare happens, that's when the second audio file will be triggered and a completely separate audio file will play. So what I want to do for this is when the guests walk up to the putt-putt hole, to Box Toccata in Fugue and D minor will be playing. You'll recognize as soon as I start playing. You think vampires and you think music, that is exactly what you're thinking. And then when they successfully hit the ball through the organ, it's going to shift to Phantom of the Opera, bam, 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 and the lights will do some fun things while that's happening. So how do we do that? Well, the very first thing you have to do is, of course, record your audio. We'll be starting with our ambient audio, and then we'll move to the trigger audio. So on the front, we have 2 separate audio lines, and this is just your regular old 1/8" male plug, your headphone plug. You have one going to a line in, and that's going to be coming from your music source. My music source is my laptop. And the other is for a set of speakers, a set of powered speakers. These are the powered speakers I'm using today, just regular old computer speakers. And that's so you can hear it while you're doing the recording. As long as you have something plugged into the line in, it's in a recording mode. So nothing else is going to happen until you start recording. So the way that you record this, it's super easy. You press and hold the record button and then press number 1. And now it is recording. Number 1 is for your ambient sound, so it is ready to record your ambient sound, but it's already started recording. So I'm going to stop it right now. And this time I'm going to do that and then start the music at the same time. See how we do. That's a good stopping place. So you see, to stop the recording, I just push the record button again and it stops. And now, when I pull the line in out, it should start immediately playing the ambient music we just recorded. So there is a little potentiometer right here between the two jacks that allows you to control the volume. Okay, now we're going to put it back in recording mode. And this time we're going to record our triggered music. So this time when I go to record, I will press the record button and then number 2, and that will start the recording for the triggered sound effect. Okay, so I just wanted those first few chords, bam, 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 and so I immediately stopped the recording just by pressing that red record button again, and it stopped. So now we have our ambient sound and we have our trigger sound all recorded. So our next step is to record the animation. Recording the animation works exactly the same as recording audio. You press record and then you press whichever button you want something to happen. So for us, we want the red light to turn on. I'll press button number 1. If I want the blue light to turn on, I'll press button number 2. Let's see how this works. And that's it. Our animation is recorded. Let's see what it looks like. We can now test it by pressing number 2. That's cool, but it's not quite what I want. So I'm going to do it again. All right, let's see how it looks. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted. And now that is going to stay on there, and as soon as you apply power, it'll immediately start playing the ambient sound. As soon as it gets triggered, it'll play the scare sound. Let's talk about triggers for a moment. There are a variety of different kinds of triggers that you can get along with this controller to trigger it. Because we're using this in a mini golf, I'm going to be using this little beam sensor. So it's an infrared sensor. It reflects off of the reflector, and whenever something breaks the beam and it doesn't see it reflecting, then it will activate. I bought the starter kit with this controller, and it also came with a little motion detector. So motion detector, another version, or another trigger that you can use along with this. And FrightProps has a ton of other triggers. There's another one I'm considering for a different hole, an impact sensor, so whenever the ball hits, it will trigger that way as well. So check out the full line at FrightProps.com. Check out the Picoboo controller. This was relatively inexpensive. It's on the cheaper side for their prop controllers. I think this one ran about $120 for that kit. That kit came with the controller. It came with this little speaker. It came with the motion detector, as well as all of the instructions that you need to wire up various different things with it. So check it out. It's very cool. And I hope this helps you put together some really cool props for yourself. If you have any questions, definitely drop us a line at our Facebook, facebook.com/hauntingyou, or on Twitter at hauntinguniver1, or Instagram at hauntinguniversity, and we'll be more than happy to talk about it more. In the meantime, stay scary, my friends. Happy haunting.